Hey friends, and welcome back to Energy Express. Happy Monday. Today we're going to my favorite place in the world. Any ideas? Nope, not Disney World. Nope, not the beach. The kitchen. That's right. I love to cook. And today, everything is all about the kitchen. Let's start off talking about picky eaters. Let's go visit our friend Ellen and read a book.
Hi. Do you like to try new foods? Or are you a picky eater? When you go to restaurants, will you try a new menu item? Or do you usually get the same things? When I was a kid, I usually got the same things. But my mom and dad would always encourage me to at least try a bite of a new food. Sometimes I really liked it. Other times I did not, but at least I tried a bite. Today we're going to read a story called How to Feed Your Parents by Ryan Miller and illustrated by Haddam Ali. Matilda Macaroni wanted to try quiche. Her parents did not. The list of things that Mr. and Mrs. Macaroni would eat was very short. Chicken, only in nugget form with barbecue sauce. Elbow macaroni, only mixed with orange-colored powder from a packet. Burgers, only from a bag with ketchup, fries, and a toy. Grilled cheese, only on white bread cut into triangles. Pizza, only topped with pepperoni and delivered to their door. And cereal, only if it was sugary and turned the milk a different color. They refused to even try anything else. Matilda first discovered she liked other foods when Grandma Macaroni brought over a pot of jambalaya for a surprise treat one evening. Yuck, Matilda's dad said when he saw the pot. No way, Matilda's mom said when she smelled the steam. They pushed their plates to the center of the table and sulked. But Matilda was curious. There she is. She's taking her first bite. Her mom and dad are looking at her very distraught. The jambalaya was interesting. It was surprising. It was delicious. After that, Matilda tried new foods whenever she could. She got gumbo and goulash at Grandma's, sampled some sushi at a sleepover, and polished off a plate of pork paprikash on a play date. But she soon realized that if she ever wanted to eat more than nuggets and noodles at home, she would have to commandeer the kitchen and cook for herself. She started by learning how to crack eggs. First, she didn't tap them hard enough to break the shell. Then she tapped them a little too hard. Finally, she got it just right. She worked with her grandma to learn oven safety and knife safety and all the other safeties she could think of. She started reading cookbooks as bedtime stories. She gave her allowance to her babysitter to buy ingredients from the local farmer's market. There she is with Grandma cooking, and there she is with her babysitter cooking. Matilda practiced with a willing grown-up whenever she could. Soon, she had perfected paella, mastered miso soup, and conquered croquettes. She wanted to share every dish with her parents. She knew they would enjoy them if they would only try them. So she came up with a plan. "I'll handle dinner tonight," she said one morning at breakfast. "No quiche," her mom said. "Nothing funny," her dad added. "Burgers," Matilda added. "Just burgers." Her parents were both running late, so they slurped up the bright purple milk from the bottom of their bowls and agreed. That night, Matilda's parents stared skeptically at the food in front of them. "This doesn't look like what I like," her dad whined. "It's a hamburger," Matilda said innocently. "I'm gonna warm up some leftovers," her mom said. "The fridge is empty," her dad yelped. "No pizza, no nuggets." "This is what's for dinner," Matilda said. "If you're hungry, you can eat it. If you're not, don't. But I made this, and this is what we're having. You made this? Mrs. Macaroni asked. She lifted the bun and peered at the patty. There are mushrooms on it, and green things. That's arugula, Matilda said. You're going to love it. Mrs. Macaroni raised one eyebrow, but then her stomach growled loudly. Our daughter made this, she said to her husband. She took the teeniest, tiniest bite. It's interesting, she said, chewing slowly. It's surprising. It's delicious. Mr. Macaroni smiled politely at Matilda and took a teeny tiny bite of his own. Hey, this isn't bad, he said. Actually, it's good. I can make it again, Matilda said as her parents chowed down, but I was thinking that maybe I could try to bake a quiche first. I don't think you should do any more cooking, her dad replied. I think we should do it together. We could take turns picking recipes, her mom said. We might not like everything, but we promise to try anything, her dad finished. The next night, Matilda and her parents sprinkled some flour on the counter. They rolled out dough before filling it with eggs, spinach, bacon, Swiss cheese, and more. The quiche was a hit, as was just about everything they made. Fantastic fajitas, her dad said after he bit into a warm handmade tortilla stuffed with steak, colorful peppers, and onions. Excellent eggplant parmesan, her mom said while going back for a second slice of the purple vegetable with oregano spice sauce and mozzarella cheese. Phenomenal pho, they both said as they leaned over their bowls and slurped up rice noodles floating in ginger-scented beef broth. You know, Matilda's mom said, talking around a mouthful of garlic naan and chicken tikka masala, I think I might like to try some jambalaya. They called up Grandma and asked her to bring over her signature dish. Amazing, Grandma exclaimed when she saw that Mr. and Mrs. Macaroni had started eating with no complaints. Matilda, you've done a great job of getting them to try new foods. Thank you, Matilda said. Now, if I only could get them to clean up their room. The end. And in the back of the book, they have the recipe for the quiche that Matilda made with her parents. I don't know about you, but this book certainly made me hungry.
Okay, next up, we head over to our friend Amy Cook. Yeah, that's her name, Cook. Isn't it great? And we go into her kitchen, her blue kitchen, and learn about food safety. Take it away, Amy.
Hi, I'm Amy Cook, the Family and Community Development Agent for WVU Extension Service in Braxton and Clay counties. And today we're going to talk about kitchen safety.
Okay, we're in my kitchen and this is how the tour is going to work. I'm going to show you around and you're going to point things out to me that might not be safe, and we might talk about why those aren't safe, okay? Well, let's get started. Here we go. See my kitchen cabinets there, right? We keep all of our dishes and things like that. We've got some nice fruit on the counter. I like to keep flowers because I think they're pretty and they make me happy. Oh, now we found a knife. Anything dangerous about that? Yeah, we probably don't want to keep knives just laying around out in the open. They could get knocked off the counter and hurt someone. A small child or an animal could come along and get a hold of them. So we want to keep those tucked away in our safe cabinets or drawers where we identify that we're going to keep our sharp objects, right? Good. Let's keep going. What else do we see here? Okay. All right. We've got my paper towels. We all need paper towels in the kitchen, right? And it looks like we have a candle here. Uh-oh. What if I had that candle lit? Does that look safe to you? Or what might happen there? Right, so the candle can catch the paper towels on fire really easily, huh? I agree. We're gonna have to move that candle away, right? And when we're not using it, we should keep the lid on it anyway. All right, so we've come to my sink. Okay, we've got soap and hand sanitizer. Good, we're gonna need that in a little bit when we wash our hands. Right, we've got some more cabinets. We've got my mixer. Now we're coming up on my stove top. Let's see. What do you think about my stove top? Let me give you a better angle here. Yeah, that looks kind of dangerous, doesn't it? What could happen there? Right, so somebody could easily walk by, and since we have the handle sticking out over top of the counter, they could accidentally bump into that. They could spill something really hot on themselves or on someone else, or even it could dump into the floor and get their feet, couldn't it? So we always keep our handles turned inward, right? We never want those to be out over top of the counter where they could get bumped into. Good job. Okay, let's go inside my oven and see what we can find. Well, it needs cleaned, I can tell you that, right? Oh, wait a minute. Should we put plastic in the oven? What's gonna happen there? Yeah, it would melt, wouldn't it? So we never want to keep plastic in the oven. If we're cooking in the oven, we need to be using a metal or a glass pan or cookware that's approved for oven use, right? Good eye. Okay, so now we're gonna come around. I have some utensils there, but nothing sharp, so that's good. Let's come around to my pantry here. I've got my microwave. Let's check out my microwave. What do I see there? Looks like someone's heating up some leftovers, huh? Ooh, is that what we should heat our leftovers up in? No, you're right. So metal and aluminum foil can't go in the microwave because guess what? They catch on fire too. Yeah, so we don't want to put metal or aluminum foil in the microwave. For the microwave, we need to use a plastic dish, right? Or a glass in the microwave. Something approved for microwave use. Good job. Okay, well that concludes the tour of my kitchen. I'll just give you a glance around here. You did a great job pointing out some really dangerous things.
Okay, now it's time to cut some stuff up. So I want you to know that the cucumber and the lemon that we're going to cut up, I've already pre-washed those to make sure that they're clean. Because what happens is if I don't, and then I take my knife to cut them up, I'm getting the germs that are on the surface of the fruit or the vegetable, and I'm kind of putting those down inside where I'm going to be eating later, right? So that's not a good idea. So one of the most important things we can think about when we're cutting things up and we're using knives in the kitchen is that we should always use the appropriate sized knife or sharp tool. And the reason for that is when we use something that's bigger than what we need, there's a bigger risk of us accidentally cutting ourselves. So let me ask you a question. What do you think? Do we need this size knife to cut up the cucumber and the lemon? Think we need that big of a knife? That's more for like a watermelon, isn't it? Yeah, so we only want to use a knife that's as big as what we need. And this one will do the job just fine. So we're going to use a smaller knife. Now, when we're cutting, here's what we want to remember. We want to keep our hands, our fingers, any part of our body as far away from the point of cutting as we can, okay? But we want to make things steady so that they don't move around on us. So I'm going to keep my fingers about this far from where I'm actually the cutting point, okay? And so we also want to pay attention to the method of cutting. So I'm cutting away from my body. And let me explain to you what I mean by that. If I had this cucumber in my hand and I was going to cut it, I might be inclined to take my knife and cut it like this, which would be cutting towards my body. That's not what we want to do. We always want to cut things on a flat surface, a cutting board, a plate, something like that. And we want to cut away from our bodies, okay? So I'm using my cutting board. I'm cutting in a downward motion away from my body, right? I cut the ends off of my cucumber. Excellent. I want to peel my cucumber. So again, I want to hold it steady, and I'm keeping it in a downward motion. And since I have the smaller knife, I'm able to handle it really easily. I'm not having to worry about that knife coming in contact with my fingers, right? So those are the main things I want you to know about knife safety. Use the appropriate tool and appropriate size. Always cut away from your body. And I think we can do this safely. What do you think? All right. Well, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks, Amy. Next up is our friend Cheryl. Like an artist, we all need our tools, and Cheryl's going to talk to us about our kitchen tools. Take it away, Cheryl.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Kaiser, and I am a West Virginia University Extension agent for Family and Community Development in Marshall County, West Virginia. And I'm so happy to be here today to share with you a little bit about working in the kitchen. And what we're going to talk a little bit about today is different tools that we use in the kitchen. So if you have a special tool right now, you can gather it up and maybe we can be talking about something that you have. And so let's go ahead and talk about some of the things you might find in your kitchen. Now, one of the things that you probably are going to find is you are going to find a saucepan. Now, a saucepan is used to cook, boil water, and you use it on the stove. Now remember, if you are using your stove, you want to make sure that you are with an adult. You want to make sure that everything is safe. Okay, so you want to make sure you follow those safety rules. So that is a saucepan. Something else that you might use are mixing bowls. Now, probably in your house, like my house, you will have many different types of mixing bowls. And so they are nice to use when you're measuring, when you're stirring, when you're making, maybe you're making muffins or you're making a salad, anything like that, you're going to be using your mixing bowls. Maybe some of you know what this is. This is a colander. And a colander is used if you're making pasta, you will maybe want to pour the water out. Another thing that you would use this for is if I bought fruit, I would put my fruit in here and I would make sure that all the fruit was washed very, very well, because you always want to make sure when you bring home your fruit and your vegetables that are fresh, either from your garden or possibly from the grocery store, that you want to wash them and make sure that none of the dirt is on it. It's very, very important that you wash all of those things before you eat them. Now, maybe you know what this is. This is a cheese grater, or maybe cabbage or carrots. And what you do is you use it and you're going to up and down. Now, if you use this again, this would be a tool you would want to make sure you are with an adult. You want to make sure, because it can be very sharp, and you want to make sure that you keep your fingers in and you're holding it and you have a big piece when you're using it. Let's see what else I have. I have a wire whisk. This is a really fun tool that you would use to stir and mix things, and you're putting air into it while you're doing that. I use mine a lot for making pudding in my kitchen. I'm guessing most of you have one of these, and this is just the old-fashioned can opener. Some of you may have electric ones that you plug in on the wall, but I will tell you, my favorite is the old-fashioned that I just use and turn the handle, and I can open up my cans. Maybe you have a rubber spatula in your kitchen. And this is used to, when you have made something, you can get all of the things off the side of your bowl. So you would use it and you would get everything off. And so my guess is most of you have a rubber spatula in your kitchen. Here is maybe you know this, a wooden spoon. One of my favorite tools in the kitchen when I am mixing. I love to use it because it's heavy and it mixes things really, really well. You might have a potato peeler, and you can also peel vegetables. This is a wonderful tool that, again, if you have one, you've got to be careful because it's very sharp and you want to make sure you have an adult with you. Now, other tools that are very necessary and you will have in your kitchen are knives. But again, when you use a knife, always, always, always have a parent present with you. It is something that you need to have. When you are cutting, you always make sure when you cut that you use your cutting board. You will have a cutting board, And you always, always keep your fingers back and cut. And so you're gonna chop like this, okay? But your hands must be back, okay? Make sure you keep your fingers in. And you wanna make sure that when you do that, again, you are with an adult. Every kitchen needs to make sure they have one of these, and this is a meat thermometer. Anytime you cook meat, maybe you're grilling out or maybe you're cooking it on your stove or in your oven, make sure that you are checking your meat, because if our meat is not cooked properly, we can get very, very sick. And so make sure you go and check that your mom or your dad has a meat thermometer, or maybe your grandma has a meat thermometer in your kitchen. So when you work in the kitchen, remember, wash your hands, ask permission, make sure you follow all the safety rules, and remember when you're to have fun. I mean, that's the most important thing, have fun. It was great being with you today, and I hope you have fun working in the kitchen.
Okay, it's time to gather up all of those tools and all of our safety tips and head into the kitchen with Gwen. Today, we're gonna make a frittata.
Hi, my name is Gwen Crum. I'm with WVU Extension Service in Wood County, West Virginia. And today I'm going to teach you how to make a frittata. A frittata would be similar to an omelet, but it doesn't consist of all the flipping and folding that we typically have difficulty with when we're making omelets. A frittata is always going to consist of milk and eggs, and then you can add meat, cheese, and vegetables as you like. What meat, cheese, and vegetables you add is going to be completely up to you. Frittata is a great way to use up leftovers that you have in your fridge, and maybe you don't have enough for an entire meal for somebody, so you can add it to some eggs and some milk and bake it in the oven, and you're going to have a quick, easy meal that you can throw together in less than about 45 minutes. When it comes to the meat, vegetables, and cheese you use in your frittata, that's going to be entirely up to you. Sometimes I use some leftover chicken breasts that I have cooked. Sometimes I use leftover ham. Sometimes I fry fresh bacon. You just want to make sure that your meat is fully cooked before beginning to put it in a frittata. You also can use whatever flavored cheese that you like, that you think goes along with your meat. And when it comes to vegetables, it's wide open. Whatever you like and whatever you think goes with that. Sometimes I'll use leftover broccoli, sometimes I'll use peppers, things like that. So whatever sounds good to you and goes well with your meat, you can put in your frittata. You're going to need about 1 pound of meat, about 1 cup of vegetables, and 1 cup of cheese. For this frittata, I'm going to use some sausage that I've already browned and have draining. I'm also going to use some spinach that I had left over in my refrigerator and some Mexican style blend cheese. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to preheat my oven to 350 degrees. Next, I'm going to take the skillet that I browned my sausage in and I'm going to let it get hot. And then I'm going to whisk my eggs. So you can use as many eggs as you want to use, but I think normally you think about how many people you're going to feed and you make as many eggs as they want to eat. So I'm going to feed 3 people, so I'm going to use 6 eggs. And if you don't have a whisk, you can just use a fork to kind of beat those eggs up. And then next to that, I'm going to add 1/2 cup of milk. I'm going to whisk all that together, and I'm going to season it a little bit with some salt and some pepper. And then I'm going to set that mixture aside to use after we prepare the other ingredients. I like a little bit of onion and garlic to season my frittata, so I'm going to saute that in this hot skillet. Until those onions just release some of their juices. Next, I'm going to add the spinach. cook that spinach until it's wilted. This is a great recipe to make. You can kind of do it all in one skillet if you have a cast iron skillet or a pan that can go directly into the oven. If you don't, that's perfectly fine. You can just transfer these items to a baking dish once they are ready to go in the oven. Now that my spinach is wilted, I am going to add my sausage. And I'm just going to incorporate that into the spinach and the onions and the garlic. If you're using something that's left over like ham or chicken, you want to make sure that you get that hot and incorporate that before you then add about 1 cup of cheese. Have to be exact. We're just going to put some in there. Remember, we've got just leftovers that we've taken out of the fridge, and we're going to put that in our skillet. Next, I'm going to cover all of that with the egg mixture that we got ready earlier. I'm then going to take the frittata in the pan, and I'm going to put it in a 350-degree oven for about 20 to 30 minutes. You know the frittata is done when you insert a knife and it comes out clean. This was in the oven for about 25 minutes. You don't want to let the frittata get too brown on top or it will take on a spongy texture, and that really affects the taste. Once the frittata has had a few minutes to set, I like to cut it in pie-shaped pieces. And then I love to cover it with a little bit of additional cheese. And if you have some salsa or pico de gallo, you can include that also. With very little prep time and about 25 minutes in the oven, you can have a quick and easy meal that's very healthy for you and your family. I hope you enjoy a frittata.
Hey friends, did you have fun today? I hope you all get to explore and make something fun in your kitchen. If you need some recipe ideas, let me know. These are all cookbooks. Well, we'll see you next time. Have a tasty day. Bye-bye.